Man and a woman on the beach. There is the man walking down a stretch of beach, and then suddenly he hears this loud crying. He checks it out and sees this girl with no arms and no legs on the sand. The man then asks her why she is crying, and she then says, "Because I've had no arms and no legs for so long, I've never been hugged." The man then looks around and hugs the lady. He walks away, and then he starts to hear even louder crying. He goes back to the girl and asks what's wrong. The girl says, "Because I've had no arms and no legs for so long, I've never been kissed." The man, after hearing this, looks around and then promptly kisses the girl. He walks off only to hear even louder crying and goes back to the girl to see what's wrong this time. The girl says, "Because I've had no arms and no legs for so long, I've never been fucked." The man looks around and sees that nobody is on the beach with them, picks her up and throws her in the ocean. Now you're fucked. Two drunks, Santa and Banta, enter a hotel late at night. They approach the clerk, and Santa says, "Could you please give us a bed with 2 rooms?" "You mean a room with 2 beds?" asks the clerk. Whatever you say." So they get a key and somehow manage to stumble upstairs to their room. After fumbling for 10 minutes, they even manage to get their door open. As they stumble inside, the door closes behind them, and they are in total darkness. They go forward slowly, and both fall on the bed closest to the door. "Ah," says Santa, "now we can get some sleep at last." As they try to rearrange themselves, they suddenly realize that they are not alone in their bed. "Hey, there's somebody in my bed," says Banta. "There's somebody in my bed too," says Santa. "Let's get rid of them. We paid for this room and we're going to sleep in the beds," says Banta. They start a tremendous struggle. They heave and push until eventually Santa throws Banta on the floor. "All right," Santa shouts, "I've thrown mine off the bed." "You're lucky," says Banta. "I got thrown off and I'm too tired to fight anymore." "Well, never mind," says Santa. "Why don't you just come and share my bed? Let's get some sleep round here." 3 vampires enter a bar. The first is small and non-threatening, walks up to the bar and timidly requests a wine glass of the finest blood, AB, if it's available. The bartender serves him a glass of the 82 Shatner and recommends a cheese to go with it. The second vampire is quite large and frightening and slams his gnarled hand on the bar, demanding boiling hot blood. The bartender, no stranger to this sort of patron, calmly microwaves a mug of blood and serves it to the frothing menace. The third is difficult to look directly at without voiding your bowels. Despite his experience, the bartender stutters when asking for his order. From the depths of a deep black cowl float the words, "hot water." The bartender, clearly confused, asks if that is all. A pale hand with long nails appears from under the cloak, dangling a heavily used tampon. "I'm making tea." An Airbus is flying 30,000 feet in the air at 200,000 miles per hour. Suddenly, a Eurofighter jet pulls up and slows down beside it and radios it. "Boring flight, huh, Airbus? Watch this." The fighter proceeds to flip upside down and speed up, breaking the sound barrier before corkscrewing to skim the ocean and coming up back beside the Airbus. "What did you think?" The Airbus pilot replies, "Not bad, but look at this." The Airbus proceeds to fly straight for the next 5 minutes before the pilot comes on the radio again. "See?" The fighter pilot is perturbed. "I don't get it. What did you do?" "I got up, stretched my legs, went to the bathroom and got a cinnamon bun." A guy went to the hairdresser's and sat down in the chair. The hairdresser, a very attractive woman, places the cloak over him and gets to work. After a few minutes, she notices that the cloak is moving up and down around the area of his crotch. Disgusted, she whips the cloak off him. "How dare you do that in my salon?" But the man looks at her incredulously and holds up a pair of glasses. "I'm just cleaning my glasses," he says. The woman blushes and starts to apologize when the man continues. They're absolutely covered in semen. An old lady dies and goes to heaven. She's chatting with St. Peter at the pearly gates when all of a sudden she hears the most blood-curdling screams. "Don't worry about that," says St. Peter. "It's only someone having the holes put into her shoulder blades for wings." The old lady looks a little uncomfortable, but carries on with the conversation. 10 minutes later, there are more loud and dreadful screams. "Oh my God," says the old lady. "Now what is happening?" "Not to worry," says St. Peter. "She's just having her head drilled to fit the halo." "I can't do this," says the old lady. "I'm going to hell." "You can't go there," says St. Peter. "You'll be raped and sodomized." "Maybe so," says the old lady, "but I've already got the holes for that." Two cannibals are discussing life. One asks the other, who was recently married, "Hey, how's the married life treating you?" The other cannibal says, "Not too bad, but my wife doesn't know how to cook." The other cannibal says, "I just got a new cookbook. I'll loan it to you. Give it a try." A few weeks pass, and the first cannibal asks, "Have you tried out the cookbook yet?" The other cannibal says, "Yes, but it didn't help. My wife and I were walking down a sidewalk and saw a guy. We abducted him, took him home, and boiled him. He was rubbery." The first cannibal asks, "What was he wearing?" The other says, "Long brown cloak kept closed with a rope." The first cannibal says, "You idiot! Why did you boil him? He was a friar." Somewhere deep down south, a man dials 911. Operator: "Emergency services, is there a problem?" Man: "Hi, yeah, I just came home and I found my wife lying dead on the floor." Operator: "I am so sorry to hear that, sir. How would you like us to assist you?" Man: "Yeah, I'd like you to come and pick her up." Operator: "I'll send someone right over. Can you inform me of the address?" Man: "Yeah, I live at 103 Alimeter Drive." Operator: "Okay, and can you spell that for me?" Man: "Hey, honey, can you spell our street about—" "Oh, shit." Man: "Yay, it's ALA. Wait, ALE. Nah, that can't be right. AL, man. Hell, I'll drag her over to Oak Street and you can pick her up there." A Cheerio sat at the bottom of a box of cereal, but he longed to get to the top of the box. He had heard at the top of the box there was a huge party, and he wanted to be a part of it. So one day he began climbing. He climbed over the other Cheerios and gradually made his way up the box. It took a lot of trying and determination, but eventually he made it. He was so excited, and at the top of the box, there was the party, just like he had heard. He got to the dance line and he danced. He got to the conga line and he did the conga. He got to the refreshment line and ate refreshments. And he got to the punch line, but there was no punch line. A zebra dies and goes to heaven. Upon reaching the pearly gates, he is greeted by St. Peter, who welcomes him. St. Peter tells him that when he meets God, he will be allowed to ask one question. "Do you have one in mind?" St. Peter asked. "Yes," said the zebra. "I've always wondered if I am black with white stripes or white with black stripes." "Okay, in you go," says St. Peter. God greets the zebra and says, "Ask me your one question, my son." The zebra asks, "I have always wanted to know if I am black with white stripes or white with black stripes." God replied, "Son, you are what you are," then disappeared. The zebra, puzzled, returned to St. Peter, who asked what God had said. The zebra replied, "He said, 'You are what you are.'" "Oh, well, that means you are white with black stripes," said St. Peter. "How do you know?" asked the zebra. St. Peter replied, "Because if you were black with white stripes, he would have said, 'You are what you are.'" Einstein met an Indian guy on a flight. It was a flight that was supposed to take about 20 hours to reach. It was a very long flight. On the plane, Einstein was seated next to an Indian guy who was about to have a nap. The flight was very long, so naturally Einstein was bored. As restless as Einstein's mind was, he asked the Indian guy, "Let's play a game. I'll ask you one question. If you can't answer, you'd have to pay me £5. However, if you ask me a question and I, with my years of knowledge and wisdom, can't answer, then I'll pay you £5,000. The Indian guy readily agreed. Einstein asked, "What's the distance from the moon to the earth?" The Indian guy was dumbstruck. He chuckled and then pulled out £5 and gave it to Einstein. As it was his turn now, the Indian guy asked, "Name an animal who goes up on a mountain with 4 legs and comes back with 3. Einstein was devastated and baffled. Even with all his expertise, wisdom, and knowledge, he just could not answer that question. Einstein, infuriated, pulled out £5,000 from his wallet and gave it to the Indian man. Einstein was desperate to know the answer. "So now you tell me, what's the name of the animal who goes up on a mountain with 4 legs and comes back with 3? The Indian guy gave £5 to Einstein and went back to sleep. It was the turtle's birthday in the animal kingdom, and he was turning 150 years old. King of the animals was the lion, and he proclaimed, "For Turtle's birthday, we should have a great party, and each animal will say a joke to the turtle for his birthday. Whoever disrespected the turtle and did not make him laugh will be killed instantly." So all the animals gather for the turtle's birthday in celebration of his antiquity. Up comes the zebra for a joke. Zebra goes in front of the turtle and says, "Congratulations, turtle, glad to see you. Why did the chicken cross the road?" Turtle looks up at zebra and slowly replies, "Why?" Zebra replies, "Because he forgot his wallet." The whole kingdom roars in laughter, but Turtle does not say a word. So the Lion King pounces on Zebra and in one swipe kills him instantly. After many animals have died and failed to make the elderly turtle laugh, up comes the monkey, and a huge wave of relief covers the kingdom. So Monkey walks up to Turtle, pats him on the head and congratulates him on his old age, then starts his joke. Monkey makes sure to add every detail and pun to make the plot even spicier. Until the punchline comes up, and before you know it, Monkey's joke has ended. Turtle looks up at Monkey and laughs his ass off. He rolls on his shell and you can see him wiping tears from his eyes. Monkey is satisfied and proud of his achievement. Then Turtle gathers himself up and looks at the monkey and says, "Man, that joke Zebra told sure was funny." There was a preacher who fell in the ocean, and he couldn't swim. When a boat came by, the captain yelled, "Do you need help, sir?" The preacher calmly said, "No, God will save me." A little later, another boat came by, and a fisherman asked, "Hey, do you need help?" The preacher replied again, "No, God will save me." Eventually, the preacher drowned and went to heaven. The preacher asked God, "Why didn't you save me?" God replied, "Fool, I sent you 2 boats. A man and a woman were having dinner in a fine restaurant. Their waitress, taking another order at a table a few paces away, noticed that the man was slowly sliding down his chair and under the table, with the woman acting unconcerned. The waitress watched as the man slid all the way down his chair and out of sight under the table. Still, the woman dining across from him appeared calm and unruffled, apparently unaware that her dining companion had disappeared. After the waitress finished taking the order, she came over to the table and said to the woman, "Pardon me, ma'am, but I think your husband just slid under the table." The woman calmly looked up at her and replied firmly, "No, he didn't. He just walked in the door." 4 Catholic ladies are having coffee together, discussing how important their children are. The first one tells her friends, "My son is a priest. When he walks into a room, everyone calls him Father." The second Catholic woman chirps, "Well, my son is a bishop. Whenever he walks into a room, people say, 'Your Grace.'" The third Catholic woman says smugly, "Well, not to put you down, but my son is a cardinal. Whenever he walks into a room, people say, 'Your Eminence.'" The fourth Catholic woman sips her coffee in silence. The first three women give her this subtle, "Well?" She replies, "My son is a gorgeous, 6 feet 2 inches, hard-bodied, well-hung male stripper." Whenever he walks into a room, women just say, "Oh my God." Some people are in a plane when the pilot says, "Pilot, over intercom, we're all going to die." Passengers scream and panic. Pilot over intercom. Someday. You never know when. It's inevitable. Passengers sigh in relief. Pilot over intercom. But probably when we hit this mountain over here. A cop was patrolling late at night in a well-known lover's spot, famous for all obscene activities. He sees a couple in a car, with the interior light brightly glowing. The cop carefully approaches the car to get a closer look. Then he sees a young man behind the wheel, reading a computer magazine. He immediately notices a young woman in the rear seat, knitting. Puzzled by this surprising situation, the cop walks to the car and gently raps on the driver's window. The young man lowers his window. Yes, officer?" The cop says, "What are you doing?" The young man says, "Well, officer, I'm reading a magazine." Pointing towards the young woman in the back seat, the cop says, "And her? What is she doing?" The young man shrugs. "Sir, I believe she's knitting a pullover sweater." Now the cop is totally confused. A young couple, alone, in a car, at night in a lover's lane, and nothing obscene is happening. The cop asks, "What's your age, young man?" The young man says, "I'm 22, sir." The cop asks, "And what's her age?" The young man looks at his watch and replies, "She'll be 18 in 11 minutes. I was walking across a bridge one day, and I saw a man standing on the edge, about to jump off. I immediately ran over and said, "Stop! Don't do it!" "Why shouldn't I?" he said. I said, "Well, there's so much to live for." "Like what?" "Well, are you religious or atheist?" "Religious." "Me too. Are you Christian or Jewish?" "Christian." "Me too. Are you Catholic or Protestant?" "Protestant." "Me too. Are you Episcopalian or Baptist?" "Baptist." "Wow, me too. Are you Baptist Church of God or Baptist Church of the Lord?" "Baptist Church of God." "Me too. Are you the original Baptist Church of God or are you the Reformed Baptist Church of God?" "Reformed Baptist Church of God." "Me too. Are you the Reformed Baptist Church of God, Reformation of 1879, or the Reformed Baptist Church of God, Reformation of 1915? "Reformed Baptist Church of God, Reformation of 1915. To which I said, "Die, heretic scum," and pushed him off. So, let me get this straight. There are like a dozen dudes following this peaceful hippie around the desert. A criminal, a murderer, even a tax collector. You think that tax collector didn't have his own cronies? Anyways, a dozen hard dudes are following a hippie, and one decides to sell out like a bitch and put Jesus in jail. And you're telling me he hung himself? Right. Sounds like a media cover-up to me. Historians in 3016 AD. A priest is walking through the woods at night. He is stopped by a policeman. The priest asks, "What seems to be the problem, officer?" The policeman replies, "A Boy Scout was abducted in the area and we are looking for a potential child molester." The priest thinks for a second and says, "I'll do it." A man at a routine checkup is diagnosed with terminal brain cancer. Doctor, I'm sorry. At this stage, the cancer has spread too far for us to stop. Our treatments will only postpone the inevitable. Patient, Doc, please, isn't there anything at all that you can do? Doctor, well, there is one thing. I don't know if it'll help, though. Patient, I'm begging you, man. Please. The doctor sighs, stands up, and grabs an unmarked bottle from one of his cabinets. He pours a small amount into a glass and hands it to the patient. Doctor, now when I turn off the lights, drink this as fast as you can. The doctor switches off the lights and the patient eagerly gulps it up, then coughs, surprised. Patient. Wait, is this whiskey? How is this supposed to cure me? Doctor. I'm sorry. It was a shot in the dark. Two truck drivers applied for a job. One said, I'm Joe and this is my partner John. When I drive at night, he sleeps. The foreman said, all right, I'll give you an oral test. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. You're on a little bridge and your truck is loaded with nitroglycerin. All of a sudden, a truck comes toward you at about 70 miles per hour. What's the first thing you do? Joe said, I wake up my partner, John. He had never seen a wreck like this before. There are 5 cows on a farm. 1 mama cow and 4 baby calves. The first baby walks up to the mom and asks, Mama, why is my name Rose? The mommy cow replies, well, honey, a rose petal fell on your head when you were born. The next calf comes up and asks, Mama, why is my name Lily? The mother replies, because, honey, a lily petal fell on your head when you were born. The third baby comes up and asks, Mama, why is my name Daisy? The mama cow again replied, well, when you were born, a daisy petal fell on your head. The final baby walks over and says, duh-huh, go-nuh. The mama cow says, shut up, Cinderblock. A plumber hobbles down the road in a cast and meets a friend. How did you break your leg? Asked the friend. It's like this, he replied. This guy had promised his wife that he would fix the sink plumbing on a particular day. That day, he realized he would need to stay late at work, so he called me. I stopped by the man's office for the house key and went to work. When the wife got home, she saw my bottom half protruding from the sink cabinet. She assumed it was her husband and proceeded to remove my trousers and give me some intimate attention. Then the phone rang, and the woman left to answer it. When she returned, she angrily said, that was my husband on the phone. Who are you? I was startled, so when I got up to reply, I bumped my head and was knocked out. The woman pulled me out and must have fastened my trousers and called an ambulance. When the medics were carrying me out, they asked what had taken place. When I told them, they laughed so hard that they dropped me. That's when I broke my leg.